not a factor.
Good evening and welcome to Pentecostal Radio, and I'm Sandra Miller for your show right now called the Pentecostal Conquerors Corner.
We are the Pentecostal Conquerors.
What could you do if fear was not a factor? There's Bible studies to be taught. There's songs to be sung. There's messages to be preached. There's impossible prayers to be prayed. Souls to be reached.
I come to challenge some apostolics tonight to not be ashamed of who you are and what you got living deep down inside of you.
We have got the power. We've got the name above every name. We have the authority. It's alive in us. And if we ever get this thing stirred up inside of us, it will tear everything to pieces.
Our revival is not based on reaping from the culture. Our revival is based on standing in face of the culture and say there's a message of deliverance. There's a message of transformation. There's a message of hope.
How many college campuses in North America do not have an apostolic presence? What could happen if fear was not a factor?
She's for Christ, she's for Christ, reaching round the world. The voice of truth, the strength of youth, our banner is unfurled. Oh, what a song of victory! Jesus died to set us free. Spread the news o'er land and sea through she's for Christ.
Welcome once again to the Pentecostal Conquerors Corner.
The world was so big. There were so many people and so many nations to be reached with the gospel. But we lacked resources necessary to fulfill the Great Commission. We needed to change the world, but to do so we needed new ways to fund the mission of the church. One of the answers to this massive need was found in the energy and creativity of apostolic youth. In 1953, General Youth President Calvin Rigdon had a vision that matched his burden. And for the first time, the youth of the United Pentecostal Church were mobilized to help fund the mission of the church through a fundraising ministry called Sheaves for Christ. And the rest is history. Today, SFC is a powerful tool that connects young people with the mission and connects missionaries and ministries with the resources needed to reach the field of their calling.
How does Sheaves for Christ accomplish this? By connecting the next generation of leaders to Christian education through scholarships. By assisting the Spirit of Freedom ministry as they reach the lives of those with chemical dependencies find freedom in their life. By providing funding to the Lighthouse Ranch for Boys as they reach young men who are troubled to find hope for their future. And by sponsoring projects at the Tupelo Children's Mansion to minister to desperate children who need the refuge of a home and the safety of a family.
By connecting North American missionaries to property grants, enabling them to purchase land, build buildings, and provide a house of worship for the communities that they're trying to reach. By blessing our global missionaries, helping them to acquire trucks and cars, bicycles, even airplanes, enabling them to carry the gospel to the furthest corner of every nation, helping students to establish a deeper level of commitment as they are blessed by North American youth initiatives, and also helping the local church as they instill within each student that ability to become a greater disciple for Jesus Christ.
Since 1953, Sheaves for Christ has been successfully funding missions and student ministry throughout North America and around the world by raising well over $100 million. But our work is not done. We need your help to further the cause of SFC. While you may not be able to go yourself, you can invest in the mission by partnering with us. The harvest truly is plenteous, but the laborers are few. We're asking you to consider helping us by sending laborers into the harvest field through your investment in Sheaves for Christ.
There you have it, a brief history of the Sheaves for Christ and how does it benefit us as the United Pentecostal Church.
The voice of truth, the strength of youth, our banner is unfurled. Oh, what a song of victory! Jesus died to set us free. Spread the news o'er land and sea, the sheaves for Christ.
The climb out of his tent was different that day as he cast his eyes to the valley of Siddim. Lot began valuing the view of the valley, and the story went downhill from there. But grace broke through the darkness one night outside of his new Sodom home as God gave Lot a higher calling. Look not behind thee, neither stay thou in all the plain. Escape to the mountain. Lot faced the same conundrum that this generation does. A desire for the salvation of the mountain with a fear of what comes with the climb. And Lot escaped to the city of Zoar, in between the valley and the mountain, just barely into grace, but not nearly where he was called. And there is a tangent that tries to compromise the culture of the valley and the calling of the mountain. But this is a Caleb generation that proclaims, if God has called me to the mountain, then give me this mountain. And Bible quizzing is the base camp to equip you for the climb. You are called to stand out. The very first command given to humanity was this: tend to every tree of the garden, but do not consume the sinful tree. Adam had to work within sin, but sin was never intended to work within him. Moses, you may be living in Egypt, but you are not an Egyptian. Young lady, when the first bell rings, you may have to come near to the valley, but you are not of the valley. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid, but there's a whisper in the winds. How close can you get to the world and still be in the calling of God? Young adults, it's not about where your feet are, it's about where your eyes are. Let's set the record straight. Lot's wife, she didn't turn into a pillar of salt running from Sodom. She turned her eyes after her family made it to Zoar. Her feet were standing in salvation, and she died because of a Snapchat mentality. I'll take a 10-second look into the valley, and nobody will know. It doesn't matter if the rest of the youth group has the app. Remember Lot's wife. When you click on YouTube, remember Lot's wife. When you're out with that young man, remember Lot's wife. The credits roll on a movie that should have never been on your screen, and you ask yourself, if I'm a Christian, how did I entertain myself with that? It's because your feet are in grace, but in your eyes is a wanderlust for the valley. You are called to be a missionary, an apostolic dermatologist, a Christian cellist, a church planner, a witness at your school, a Bible study teacher. Your mountain is bringing your family to God and helping your suicidal friend out of the valley. Your mountain is a very, very big deal. Understand this clearly. The valley wasn't made for you, but the mountain is yours. I'll just wait until next year to prepare myself in the Word of God. I'm sorry, Hannah, Montana, there won't always be another mountain. There's one mountain, and you're going up or you're going down. So give me this mountain. I want mountain music in my earbuds. I want less of the valley in my youth service and more of the mountain. I want to have a mountain mindset and wear mountain clothes. Apostolics, it's great if the world admires your mountain clothes, but the reason you wear mountain clothes isn't because they're stylish. It's because you're called to a mountain. Yes, Abraham. The mountain is a place of sacrifice, but when you get there, you'll realize that God was providing everything you thought you'd lose. Young man, you may be scared to let go of a relationship in the valley, but God has better things on the mountain. So why is Bible quizzing so important? Because there are confrontations on the mountain where only preparation through the Word of God can sustain you. It was on a mountain that Satan offered Jesus all the world if he would just take one trip to the valley. And Jesus could have answered anything he wanted to, yet he said, "It is written." to cry. There must be a young person to stand and say,
It is written, I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth.
when you hear the valley singing, stay with me.
It is written, Come ye, and let us go to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob. And he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths.
But what if you die on the mountain?
It is written, For to me, to live is Christ, and to die is gain.
But what about the riches and popularity you'll never find on the mountain?
It is written, Better is a little with righteousness than great revenues without right.
The mountain isn't as easy to traverse. What if you fall?
It is written, Rejoice not against me, O mine enemy, for when I fall I shall arise. When I sit in darkness, the Lord shall be a light unto me. It is written, We are troubled on every side, but not distressed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Cast down, but not destroyed.
It's your day. It's your mountain. It's your calling. So prepare yourself for the climb.
Are you prepared for the climb?
Up on the Isle of Patmos, a man was cast one day. As he was left alone to die, he began to pray. The Holy Ghost fell on him, the Spirit he came down. Well, he began to write about the things he saw. The Revelator's name was John.
Thank you for tuning into the Pentecostal Conquerors Corner on Pentecostal Radio, where it's all about Jesus.
He saw feet like brass, eyes like fire, heard a great voice saying, Come up higher. It was John the Revelator. He wrote about the city of God. While in the Spirit praying, John turned around to see if the voice he had heard was what it seemed to be. Just like the many waters, a great trumpet sound. Well, he said, I am the first and last. The Revelator wrote it down. Talking about John the Revelator, he saw Jerusalem.
Thank you once again for tuning in to the Pentecostal Conquerors Corner. Sandra Miller signing out for Pentecostal Radio, where it's all about Jesus. It's not by power, but by Spirit as we go.